This is FIBA Podcast. Thank you for joining us in our morning daily devotion.
I wish to share with you another timetable called the generalized timeline. In this timetable, we find that God takes us through different phases in our life journey. It starts with phase 1, which is called sovereign foundations. This is a phase where even when we were not aware of God's work in our life, God continues to lay His hand upon us. Now, when we have grown older, if we look back at a time in our life when we were not in a relationship with God, we can remember experiences where we knew it was purely the hand of God that guided us and led us. This is called the phase of sovereign foundations. We had not connected with God, we had no relationship with God, but yet God's love, God's hand, God's grace, God's provision was upon us. Then we come to a time of crisis in our life where we understood that we needed to have a relationship with God. We needed to submit to God. This is a very important crisis event that every one of us as God's people have to go through, where we decide to surrender our life to God. When we do that, we move to the second phase in our life, which is called the inner life growth phase. Inner life growth phase is the place and time where God begins to change us in terms of our inner life, our thought life, our priorities, our ambitions, our goals, our desires, our longings. Everything gets corrected and God begins to bring His longings and His desires within us. This is a very crucial time in the life of God's people, the inner life growth phase. Many crucial, many important lessons are learned at this period. Next crisis that we go through is a crisis where we begin to understand God's mission and God's purpose for our life. As we go through the inner life phase, God begins to show us that He has a specific calling, a specific purpose that He has designed for us. And He wants us to be submitted and yielded to that plan and purpose that He has in life. So somehow, through maybe sickness, maybe through a crisis, maybe through a relationship, maybe through a financial situation, somehow God communicates to us His plan and purpose, and we begin to absorb that and we begin to say, this is God's plan, this is God's purpose for my life. When we understand that, we move into a third phase of our life, which is called the ministry maturity phase. We begin to understand our ministry. We begin to understand our calling, and we begin to move forward in our ministry. This is again a beautiful phase where we learn many lessons and we are being used by God to bring healing and transformation in the lives of others. The sad reality is many of God's people are still sitting in between inner life phase and the ministry maturity phase. They should progress further, but sadly many of God's people are in stagnation.
Dear listener, we are here to stand with you in your time of need. We want to pray with you and for your prayer request. Do you need someone to talk to? We are here for you. Call us or send a message at +91 636 425 2164 +91 636 425 2164. God bless you.